So, my loves, we covered what a spiritual awakening is and what it represents for us as we evolve through life. In the first segment and the second segment, we spoke about the symptoms that you may experience during a spiritual awakening. And like I said, there's so many more that I probably didn't list, but the main ones that I find most of us experience. And then I wanted to talk about in this segment the different phases that we go through. So the first and the second segment really was an outline, an overall understanding of it in a neat little package of what it represents and what we go through. So the phases can all happen 1, 2, 3 at once, or the 4th, 5th, and 6th. There's all different types of phases. Let's put it that way. And it all depends on who is talking about it. They can say there's only 3 phases. Some can say there's 7 phases. I'm just going to break it down to like 5 or 6, maybe even 7. We'll see. Wherever I'm guided, wherever spirit wants to take me. So phase 1 of a spiritual awakening is, as we spoke in the first segment, spiritual awakening starts in phase 1 is usually when there is major change in our life. So it starts with major change or trauma that we may be going through. It's at this point where we start to, in the beginning of this spiritual awakening, we start to question everything in our life, right? Which can turn into divorce, can turn into leaving a job, can turn into all of these things, okay? So we start to question things. We start to question people. We start to question experiences that are going on in our life. So that's the beginning of a spiritual awakening, is when we start to question the things in our life that just don't feel comfortable to us anymore, don't feel good to us anymore. And even if we don't know in that very moment that it's not meant to be in our life anymore, there is that question of why? Why am I still here? Why do I still choose to be with this person in this situation? Why do I continue going to a job that I don't care for, right? If someone passes in your life, why did they have to die? Illnesses show up in your life. Why am I receiving this illness? Why am I going through these things that I'm going through? So you start to question all of the things that are in your life that are either changing or you are in the process of changing it because it just doesn't feel right. But we don't really know in phase 1 what's truly going on. We don't really know what's truly going on, but we feel like there's something missing in our life that just doesn't feel right anymore. You know, we find ourselves in deep contemplation about the things around us and if we even want to be around it, right? So usually that is the first phase of a spiritual awakening, is when we start to question the things that are going on in our life, whether we are questioning if we should leave or whether we are questioning because it happened and why it happened. Like again, like I said, death or any major illness or any major change or trauma that you may be going through, you start to question, okay, why it happened or why am I still here, okay? So that's the first phase. That's part of the first phase. We also start to feel confused. So that's all part of it. We become confused. We start to feel lost. You know, we're down all the time. And that usually is when we're in the moments of being confused about what is going on in our lives and what we are just tired of or what is happening in our lives. When we are in that place of trying to understand it, that is when we start to question, do I want to stay here or not? You know, why did it happen, right? It brings all of this into our reality for us to look at. So again, the first phase is about questioning the things in our lives that need to change, or the things in our lives that have changed abruptly, and we're trying to understand why it happened. So that is the first stage. I hope that resonated with some of you. Let's go to the phase 2. So in phase 2 of the spiritual awakening, after we have asked all those questions and start to realize that there's just things in our lives that just don't feel right to us anymore, but we're really not sure what to do. And some of us may just go on our merrily little way and still continue staying in that place, in that relationship, and all of those things that we're questioning ourselves about why we're doing it, why it happened, and what we need to do, why, okay? What'll happen is, this is where now, when the universe, when divine knows that you are ready to go or get past or go to the next level, especially after when you start to begin to ask questions, when you start to ask those kind of questions and trying to figure it all out, that is when you are ready to go to the next level. You may think you are not, but you are thinking about it. You're not understanding what's going on. You're just questioning the things that are going on. So now what happens is, if we create resistance about those things that we just thought about, changes and things that we're going through or have happened or haven't happened, those questions that we're asking ourselves, when the divine knows that you're ready to go to the next level and they feel that you need some help, you need a little guidance, or you need your hand held, or you need a big push. A lot of times it shows up as a big push, especially if we continue to resist it. All right. So then what happens? It brings us into the next phase. All right. So now the universe, the divine, steps in and says, you're asking these questions, my lovely souls, because you're ready to go to the next level. Even if you don't think you are ready. And we are going to help you get to the next level. And it is going to show up harsh to you, but at the end of it, you are going to understand why we had to do it. Okay? Why we had to help you. All right? So what ends up happening? We go into a dark night of the soul. And I've talked about the dark night of the soul. It can be a tower moment, short term, or it can be dark night of the soul, which is deep and sometimes takes a long time for us to get through. Because again, we're asking questions for a reason, because we are internally ready to go to the next level. We just don't know how to do it, or we don't completely understand why. Okay? So the universe comes in, divine comes in, and they shake our world up. If you're questioning that job that you're not happy about anymore, what happens? During this dark night of the soul, or right before the dark night of the soul, they take it away from you. It comes in and that job is taken away. We're in complete despair in that moment. And we're wondering, oh no, what do I do now? I need the job. I need the money. But when we're in a deep contemplative place in our lives, when we feel like it no longer lines up with us, and our soul really knows we need to go to the next level, we need to leave it so that we can open ourselves up to what we are really supposed to be in alignment with as we're going through the spiritual awakening. It will be taken away from you. Everything comes tumbling down. You lose your job. It gets taken away. You lose a loved one. Those questions about the relationship you're in gets taken away. Or you're shown things about that relationship that really are no longer in alignment with you. Everything serves a purpose in our life. It serves a purpose because it's part of the evolution. All right? We just don't understand it when we're going through it. So when the dark night comes in, it takes everything we have known and brings it crumbling down so that we can start rebuilding. Okay? At a level or in a place that we need to be in order to go on to the next cycle, to the next part of our evolution, because our soul's ready to move forward, right? Now, even after dark night of the soul And that is like where we are just ripped apart. It's very harsh. It's very hard. It really is painful. It's not an easy process to go through, but it's a necessary process to go through. This is when our soul is trying to now recalibrate, in a sense. It's kind of like, okay, well, you want all these things that you're questioning, they're no longer serving you. Maybe you're fearing some of these changes. Maybe the changes just happened for you. So now you have to recalibrate to this new vibration, okay? This new energy. So the dark night of the soul is about that. It's about our soul now trying to connect with what we are asking for or what is necessary to be taken away from us so that we can operate at a different frequency and vibration, or connect to our soul at a different level, right? Because as we're going through these phases, we're connecting more and more on a soul level, right? Because the soul level it's the true essence of who we are. We just have to get to that place of remembering our home, coming back to our home heart, right, of who we really are. So the dark night will come in. It's going to present all kinds of challenges. It's going to upset you. It's going to turn your world upside down. Right? And our soul is trying to connect now and recalibrate through it. Okay? So the dark night of the soul, like I said, it's very harsh. It knocks you down on your knees, where now you are just in such a dark place because you're being forced to look at the shadow aspects of your life, those things that are keeping you stuck in the places where you're asking questions about, or things that were taken away from you that you thought were supposed to be there forever, job, people, whatever. It's just showing you, no, that's just supposed to serve whatever purpose it needs to serve at that time. For you to even question it means it's time to move on, all right, and go to the next place, okay, the next level, the next part of our evolution is what we need to go, where we need to go at this point. So we will be knocked down to our knees, brought into the darkest, deepest parts of ourselves, the shadow aspects of our lives, to be forced to look at a lot of these things. And that's why a lot of times, like I said earlier, we go through many different spiritual awakenings, okay? Because there's so many different changes we go through in our life. So our soul is constantly recalibrating. It's trying to level up to the next and the next and the next, right? But dark night of the soul. So we will even experience dark night of the souls more than once in our lifetimes, right? Again, it all goes by what needs to be changed and removed from our lives so that we can start rebuilding. Because once we get through the dark night of the soul and we go through that hell, because it is exactly what it feels like, hell, when we go through it, now there's really no place but to go up, right? We went down to the depths, right? In that awakening. So now we have to keep moving forward. Now we're moving forward. So after a dark night of the soul is when we truly do gain a whole brand new level of awareness now, okay? Because we were forced to look at a lot of things and things were taken away from us. So now we have to take all of this that happened to us during this dark night of the soul and whatever information or whatever awareness we came to through that dark night of the soul. Now we need to move forward with that. So we do end up receiving clarity and perception, clear perception after a dark night of the soul. Because now it's like the illusion has been ripped away. The mask has been taken off, right? We had to look at things at the deepest level. And so now we see things for what they truly are. We're receiving that clarity. So it's going to help us. In a sense, it's going to help us leave the relationship, start a new relationship. Well, not that you want to start a new relationship right away, but it's going to help us see what doesn't serve us anymore so we can move forward, right? The job is gone. So now we can focus on the next job that's going to be more in alignment with what we just learned about ourselves, what we just discovered about ourselves during the dark night of the soul. Okay? So again, these are just steps that we go through to get to where we need to get at the end. Okay, so this is like the second phase. And again, we will go through many different awakenings, spiritual awakenings, because we go through so many different changes in our lives. So they will be brought in at different times in our lives, whether they're dark night of the souls, tarot moments, whatever it is, to rip away the old so that we can start the new, right? But every time at the end of these tarot moments and dark night of souls, we do have a different perception. We do have a different understanding and awareness level that we are at now. So it's going to help push us forward now to the next part of the journey of this spiritual awakening that we are going through. Now, after that immense period of our world being ripped apart from us, now we get to this place now where we can start applying some changes to our lives, and doing what it is that we really want to do, what we need to do. Okay, so what happens in the third stage is we go through the exploration part of our journey. So now, with this newfound awareness, after this shakeup of our world and this new awareness that we're at right now, we can now go into the exploration part of the journey of like exploring what we may want to do differently, the changes that we want, maybe even start planting the seeds of what we want to create, right? So we go through the exploration part now of the journey, trying to figure out what it is that we really want to create for ourselves moving forward. So we explore and we try different things that maybe we've thought about in the past that we didn't finish, or not finish, or we didn't even attempt, right? So we're at this place now of just this clear perception of, okay, I'm ready to try something different. Something different. My soul is calling for something different. And because now I understand why all of that stuff was taken away from me, now what I can do is start creating from this new awakened state that I'm in this new awareness level of who I am up to this point. Not even if you don't know exactly yet at that point, you do know that those things were taken after the dark night. During the dark night, you start to understand why all of that happened, whether it was taken away, whether you had to move away, whatever happened that created the start of the awakening, spiritual awakening, you understand it now, right? You're at this clear perception, place of clear perception now, where it's like, okay, let me explore my options now. Let me explore to try different things, doing things differently than I did before, and see how that all works out for me. Let me start exploring. So now we're going through the exploration of trying different things, changing things from the way they used to be to a new way in this new awakened state that you're in right now, right? So again, we're going to go through trials and tribulations through this time, because what are we doing? We're trying to figure out what it is that is in true alignment with us. But we already got rid of what we needed to get rid of. So now we have to see what are we to create from this new knowing, this new awareness level, right? So we'll go through the exploration of trying different things, learning different things, and creating at a different awareness level, right? That is stage 3 of a spiritual awakening. We try to figure out what is more in alignment with us now in this new stage that we're in. Again, this is part of stage 3, where we're going through the exploration of trying to figure out what it is that is now in alignment with us, which then brings us to the 4th stage. So in the 4th stage, I guess what you can look at it as, we just went through the questioning of who we are, what doesn't work for us anymore, what we need to get rid of, what is being taken away from us, how do we operate now out of this new place of understanding. We go through the explorations trying to figure it all out, and then we get to this new place of understanding, right? We get to this place of understanding we start to understand why we had to go through the things that we had to go through. So the lessons that we learned from those experiences. So we're starting to now look at, what did I learn from those experiences, right? That brought me into this place of now trying to understand what it all represented for me. And now I'm ready to, now I'm at this new understanding and awareness level. Now I'm ready to take all of those lessons and start applying them to the next part of my evolution, right? So then that goes into stage 5, where now we're starting to create. We're planting those seeds and we're creating our realities now, right? We're trying to create in a way that is in alignment with our true selves of who we truly are, what feels good to us during this time now. What do I want to create from this? How do I want it to look for me moving forward? This new me is different. I'm not really sure what to do with this, but I'm ready to create at this new awareness level. And I still have to figure out and learn how to do that, right? So we're in this stage of now ready to create, understanding the lessons that we went through, and now trying to figure out how to apply it to our lives and moving forward. What do we truly want to create from this shift and change that we have undergone through the spiritual awakening, right? Because again, now we're at this place of understanding, and now we just want to figure out, what do we do next, right? How do we do this? How do we apply this? What do we do? But now we understand why it had to be done. Now it's trying to understand, how do we put it into play, right? And this is a version we've never been at. So it's confusing and frustrating at the same time, because we've done all this work, and now we got to figure out, well, what do we do next, right? So again, the more you continue the practices of self-care and journaling and meditating and mindfulness and going through work, the more that you can spend time with yourself, the answers will come, because it's already within you. It's connecting to your higher self and allowing your higher self to guide you through all of these stages. They're scary because it's the unknown. We don't really know what to do next. So in this stage, we're scared, but we're excited. We just don't know. We don't know what to do next, right? Or we just have this excitement within ourselves that we know something is about to change for us, and we're just waiting for that to happen for us. So then it takes us into the next stage, the 6th phase of the spiritual awakening. But before we even get to the 6th stage of our spiritual awakening, again, during this 5th stage, and it really doesn't make a difference in what stage you're at, right? And I don't want you to get caught up in the stages. It's just a way of understanding. It's just a process, really, if you want to look at it that way. But sometimes people like to understand it by breaking it down into stages, but really it's a full process. It's just a process of where it starts, where it continues, and where it ends, right? So we're going on this journey, because that's exactly what it is. It's a journey of self-discovery. It's learning who we truly are and all of the things that we have gone through in our lives that's bringing us to the place of remembering who we really are, right? So it's, again, even though I'm breaking it down in stages for you and phases for you, it's really a process. And it's going to take as long as it takes. And you can't compare your process and your spiritual awakening to anybody else's, because your lessons maybe or are different than what their lessons may be. So their spiritual awakening may be short, where your spiritual awakening may be longer. Your dark night of the soul might take months, years for you to get through. And other people, you get through it, in a week. So again, you cannot compare your spiritual awakening with anybody else's spiritual awakening, because again, We have to go through it at whatever pace we are meant to go through it, because at the end of it all, we need to understand it. So however long it takes you to understand it, it takes you. So don't think it's a race, because it is not. It's a process that you have to go through. And again, we may go through it many more times in our lives, because we go through many changes in our lives. And that will bring us down to the remnants of things that need to be cleared within our lives, right? So as we go through this phase, these stages of level of awareness now that we're at, where we asked the questions, we went through the dark night of the soul, we cleared a lot of things, we have a different awareness, an understanding. We're still going to be presented with challenges along the way, all right? And again, you can't compare your awakening with anybody else's, because it all depends on what it is that you need to learn, or what you are supposed to get from your awakening, okay? So the challenges will always be there, will always be tested, because it's the way the universe and the divine checks in to see how far we have come, okay? So we will be presented with those challenges and more challenges, because there's just so many experiences that we have to go through, right? So many things that we have to level up on to get to this place of being in balance with ourselves, right? So we will be presented with a lot of challenges as we go through this process of spiritual awakening. But again, be gentle with yourself. No, it is not a race. It's a process, right? It's a process of what we need to release, what we need to heal, what we need to let go of, what we need to understand. So whatever time it takes, it takes. All right, my love? So that is important for you to understand that. So as we're continuing this process, an awakening process, spiritual awakening process, again, we will be presented with challenges to try to get to a place of putting it all together, right? And I've talked about this in so many of my videos. You know, we have to go through experiences to understand what they really represent in our lives and what they're supposed to teach us. So and that's what the spiritual awakening is all about. It's a journey. It's a journey of self-discovery. It's a process we have to go through. So we will be presented with more challenges, because every experience we go through, and I've said this many times before, has layers. We have so many layers that we have to go through. So we're not going to clear every layer like that. So we have to go through the process of releasing and letting go each time. And that's what the spiritual awakening, that's why we go through spiritual awakenings more than once or twice or 3 times. Because again,